Sociable Object.
Oggetti Socievoli.
Oggetti Socievoli presenta.
A Conversation With is hosted by Prisca Arosio.
My name is Stef Bakker. I work in the design field as an interior designer, or I would say a space organizer. I've been working in education in the Design Academy for a long time in the Department of Men and Wellbeing. I think the title itself is very explanatory for what my perspective is, or the frame I work in. For interior spaces as residentials, we use a high sensitivity for how the people have a dream about their homes, and we try to bring it down into reality. There's also one direction that we do is set design, and there we can thrive on fantasy and suggestion.
I thought that you were one of the only people I met that actually focus about objects when he does interior design. And the object that we have in the book are really not designy.
The reality is also that design is just a label that we put on things. And since we live in a luxury time, I mean, that's at least the word we intend to use, it sort of got out of hand. But already listening how you get back to me, because I focus on the object, I would actually rather focus on the human being. I do understand the relation between an object and a human being or a space. The object could also be the architecture. I was a little bit surprised going through the book that people do bring forward their objects, but actually in my COVID lockdown moment, I was most of all fascinated that my dog and my plants never looked happier. So that also means that if I'm in my own space and if my world is reduced to that, then apparently my attention is less diluted and more directly related to what's already around me. And the objects, let's say, that are alive are then clearly most important. The plants, and in my case also the dog, really contributes to my well-being. Maybe that's also because the rest of the organized life or interior has been curated. That are already things that belong to me and they don't require so much attention. But it also made me realize when you invited me for this conversation that in the book, I think nobody speaks about the living objects in their surrounding.
We do have a couple of people that talks about plants, but I also think that's part of the space that you have. If you have a small space and then you have a plant, it's different that you have like an apartment with a garden or a terrace. So I think your relationship also with the outside and with the plants as a living object changed.
But also realizing in the lockdown that we were not supposed to invite people over. Your home and your surrounding, whether it's small or big, is more and more just about you and not about you presenting it to somebody else. It became less an extension of your personality. And that makes me think that in the time, let's say, when our ancestors were living in a house, I mean, there was no such thing as an interior magazine or educations that would teach you how to design a house. I mean, that's really from the last century, I would almost say. And of course, before there were also total design projects where somebody would design the architecture as well as all the pieces going in, as well as all the textiles going in. But for most of the population, that was not the case. Everyone was happy to have a private space, and especially the Dutch were super keen on keeping it clean. And we have a history for that as well. There's the book of Rybczynski, which speaks about the idea of a home. Because of the paintings from the Golden Age, the Dutch masters, there's a lot of interior being painted. So we became sort of an example for how the Europeans organized their houses around them. It's interesting how this very small, focused idea about a home was taken over by other countries where they also understood that actually privacy and an intimate space is super important. That's actually also the starting point of people giving their interiors attention. And that grew into where we are now, where we have all design shops everywhere, in every street, in every city. Even my mom is worried about how she is organizing her windowsill because that's how she communicates with the outer world. And actually, she's not that person, right? She's really about taking care of the family and she wants to have a pleasant home. But because of the whole growth, even my mom is now aware of how the people outside are reading her interior. as if it would say a lot about her personality, and actually it does. And ultimately it is about us, about the human being in the space, or having this space organized in any way you want it. But we all seem now to think along sort of certain typologies. So we do need boxes and we do need structure. But the danger is also that we all copy the same thing. It's also with fashion. In general, I would say the highlight of this whole period is also that we were not so worried about how it would look. It was really about us, and it was really about, okay, I have more time, so I will be taking more care of my plants and probably also cleaning the house. And probably in parallel to the economic situation, money in the bank has lost its value. People started to spend money on their homes like crazy.
So how were you living your house before, and how this has changed during the lockdown?
Before the lockdown, I used my house as a starting point to get out and then start to do whatever I had to do. During the lockdown, the house became the floor of where my life was happening. And before, I used it more as a jumping board to jump into life.
What sociable object means to you, or what does it make you think, the word of sociable object?
Sociable object is an object that you are consciously aware of, because that will then make you relate to it. I think we have a lot of situations where we don't even see what's around us. The degree in which we are all now aware and accustomed to design can also kill the authentic reason why I think it's important. It gets so much attention that instead of taking a moment to check for yourself what's valuable or relevant or would label as quality for your well-being, we just take from the shelf, we bring it home, we hang it on the wall, we throw it on the floor, and we think we're there because it's so much available. It's a choice whether you just join or whether you take a break and think, what are we actually doing? How meaningful is it to me? COVID and lockdown for that reason also made at least some of us aware that it's okay to have not a big social life. It's okay to not have 7-course meals. It's okay not to have all the input that we are collecting if the whole society is open.
We are going to go on a long run into a lot of crisis. So we need to appreciate and take care of what we have.
I don't think we even need to. It will happen by itself as long as you're open to it. We're all human beings that are living our lives. And again, it proves the more capable you are of adjusting, the better the flow is going to be. And you should also accept the limitations that maybe also present themselves as opportunities. And we intend to forget this if everything becomes too successful and the things are going too fast.
What value do you give to objects, and how this has changed also during the lockdown?
Personally, I think I am too much relating to my objects. I have this tendency to make it super important because that's how my system reacts. As a kid, I could relate to an object without having a bigger picture. So it was very intuitive, and I was not aware of all these filters that our society has, whether this is a trend or a hierarchy or anything else. And of course, growing up, I became aware of it, and I also fell for those tricks. And now already for a long time, since it's also part of my profession, I am aware what is intuitively true to me or valuable or I can connect with. It really all starts with intuition, and the intuition is trusting all we have learned so far and our own system to be present in what's happening.